What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Part 2 of the DFS OGs podcast, talking everything week 14, talking about those cheap running backs. We'll get an update on Chop's season-long team, as always, and we'll answer some user questions after we break down the remaining games. 5 afternoon games remaining on the main slate, Sunday night and Monday night football, as always. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Chris Beermaker Stan Prince, joined, as always, by my fellow OGs, Notorious Head Chopper. Boys, how we doing? Chop, how was that Chinese food?
I can still smell it. Man.
Oh, get a little peek into the behind the curtain here. We just record part 1 and part 2 at the same time. So Chop's still waiting on that Chinese food, but we're going to get you the info you need to know. Derek, how we doing, brother?
Yeah, doing good. Excited for part 2. I'm excited for the holidays. It snowed about a foot here over the weekend. So, yeah, a lot to look forward to.
All right, well, let's get started with one of those value running backs we talked about to end part 1, the great Jeff Wilson Jr. Chop, I want to start with you. You're our college football expert, so give us some tape, give us some info here on Wilson Jr., a guy they clearly trust, a guy they're going to throw the ball to a ton. Is he a must-play this weekend at 3,800?
He certainly looks the part right now. Just look, I was shocked when I looked at that and saw he played 72% of the snaps last week. So, yeah, I mean that's one of the guys you can turn your attention to here if you believe in it. Now, he did come back in the game after he hurt his foot, so they're saying he's questionable, but I think that's just all window dressing. Yeah, I mean, Brietta's already been ruled out. This guy played the snaps last week. I'm sure they'll activate Alfred Morris and maybe take a little and spell him, but I wouldn't expect that to be that big of a deal. I think you fire this guy. This is a really, especially on DraftKings here where it's PPR and this guy can catch the ball out of the backfield. So that's definitely one of the guys you got to have in your cash game. It's weird because he's only $200 cheaper than Ware was last week, and we saw what Ware did to us, but I would expect this guy to be a little bit more productive. This offense doesn't have the same weapons as a Kelsey and Tyreek Hill and stuff. So I think he'll be a focal point of this passing game for this, undrafted quarterback. So I think that's where you go. And then Pettis had the big game last week too. So that's interesting. Pettis, that's 2 weeks in a row that he's been the guy when 2 weeks ago it was Kendrick Bourne that everybody thought was going to be the guy. I'm assuming Garcon and Goodwin are out. If they're not, then obviously you change up all that stuff. But, yeah, Kittle, Wilson, I think those are the only 2 guys I have interest in anyway for San Francisco. Denver, another one of those teams that is on the verge of a playoff berth. They're playing really well. Their losses were really close. They've won some important games here lately. I think these guys are all in play. Philip Lindsay will be much more popular this week. Price tag rose a little bit. Not enough probably to get you off of him if you like him. But I have more interest in the passing game here. Emmanuel Sanders, I think, is going to have a big game. I could see Cortland Sutton having a good game. And I can't do much worse. Matt Lacoste can't do much worse for me than he did last week with the big fat 0. So maybe this is the week he actually catches a pass for me.
What a bum. Big old 0 against Cincinnati. It don't get any better than that matchup. How many guys have busted against Cincinnati as a tight end? Somebody earlier in the season was in a plush. And Njoku, who we talked about in part 1, didn't he bagel against Cincinnati? Oh, Lacoste, you're killing me. But, yeah, I like going back. This game's very intriguing, Chop. You brought up about 9 guys, and I think the under-the-radar thing, Chris Harris injured for Denver. I think that's obviously a big boom to the San Francisco passing game. And if everybody's going to be on Wilson, I don't mind going back to this passing game here. So maybe not Mullins, but Pettis has looked good. So, Derek, thoughts here? A lot to get to in this game, Denver and 49ers.
Yeah, even though this one has a low total, it has a lot of fantasy appeal due to all the injuries. I'm going to be locking in Jeff Wilson Jr. Don't know a ton about him, but I know that they're saying he's going to get the bulk of the work. He looked good last week, including 9 targets, caught 8 of them for 73 yards. Denver has a pretty decent pass defense overall, so I do expect him to get a lot of dump-offs. And anytime we get these cheap running backs, I just lock them in and then build from there, especially when it comes to cash games. As far as the rest of the Niners, I think this could be a Kittle game. everyone's going to see the big games from Pettis, but he's only had 14 targets over the last 2 weeks. He's just found the end zone 3 times. So, yeah, I'll go with Kittle as a low-owned sleeper in tournaments. And then Denver, I agree with Chop. I think everyone's going to look to Lindsey. I certainly think he's incredibly talented. That long run he had just looks like he got shot out of a cannon. I mean, he's so fast, so explosive. But he still only played 42% of the snaps last week, only had 1 target. So he's relying on incredible efficiency. If that doesn't come through this week, then we could see a down game. And if he's going to be popular, I think he makes a nice fade. Like the Sanders call, like the Sutton call. And I had the Lacoste bagel as well. But he did play 80% of the snaps, and tight end has been such a wasteland this season that you can afford having a 0 from your tight end. It doesn't kill you. Paying down to the position helps you pay up at some of the other spots. So, yeah, I don't mind going back to Lacoste at $2,700.
Take a 0 and get your price bumped up $200. But Todd Gurley puts up 30 and his price goes down. So, DraftKings, I love you. Just messing with you. A very intriguing game, though. Love this spot for both these teams. So I think this one will fly under the radar, guys. But, we nailed on a lot of guys there. I think this could even be a stackable game. So let's move on, though. Cincinnati and the Chargers, our next game here on the main slate. Derek, this one, I think Melvin Gordon is the story here. We're not sure as of this recording if he's going to be back. They're saying he may be back. So let's pretend he's in there. What do we do with Melvin Gordon? Because on one hand, they're big home favorites. On the other hand, you got to think they learned their lesson from last time. And if they're up big, they're not going to play this guy, especially with the emergence of Justin Jackson and then covered from the other end. If Gordon's out, you want Eckler? Do you want Jackson? Do you want both? Passing game? What do we do here? Because it's Cincinnati. A lot of ways we can go with the Chargers.
Yeah, pure speculation on my part, but I highly doubt they're going to play Gordon this week. 14-point favorites. Sorry, what's that?
I said that's what I think too. I don't see why they would play him, but want to cover all the bases here.
Yeah, 14-point favorites at home. Even if he is active, I don't think I'll go there. But if he is out, then I will go back to Eckler. Good call by you guys on Justin Jackson, by the way. You guys said to play him in that showdown slate last week on the pod, so good call on that. But I still prefer Eckler. He saw the bulk of the snaps last week. 78% snap rate, 13 carries, 8 targets. He just kind of ran bad, didn't get a whole lot going. So I would go right back to Eckler. The price bump is a little concerning. But Keenan Allen should be, firmly in play once again. Ever since he complained about not getting enough targets, he's just getting peppered with targets each and every week. He's had 38 over the last 3, and he has had 24, 20, and 40 fantasy points during that stretch. So I like those guys. As far as the other receivers for the Chargers, it's kind of just tough. Tyrell played 50 snaps last week. Mike Williams played 34. Benjamin played 28. So they're kind of splitting the work after Keenan Allen. So for me, I'll probably just be avoiding them. And then Rivers, don't really want to play him in a game where they may not be forced to air it out a whole lot. So, yeah, not a ton that I like on the Chargers outside of the running back. If it ends up being Eckler, be getting the start. And then for Cincinnati, pretty much just a fade for me. I like the Chargers defense in this one.
Yeah, the Jeff Driscoll experience plays on here. A.J. Green obviously out for the year, so tough to get excited about the Bengals. So, Chop, Melvin Gordon, if he's in, yes or no? And then those running backs, is it Eckler or Jackson for you?
It would be a no on Melvin Gordon, even if he's active. I just can't imagine that they're going to push him even if he's active. But I'm of the sentiment, like you two guys said. I just think that if I could find a sports book that would give me odds on him not playing, then I'd load up on him not playing. There's no way. Not against Cincinnati, not at home. They're a 14-point favorite. I don't think they push him. So if that's the case, I'll go to Eckler here. Justin Jackson had a great Monday night game, but like Derek said, he got doubled up in touches and like 4-1 snaps in favor of Eckler. Jackson just made it count more. So, but I'll go back to Austin Eckler in this game. And I actually like Keenan Allen. This is Keenan Allen's time of year now. This is what he does, kind of loafs around in the first half and then lights it up in the second half, and he's on that trajectory again. So I'll fire up some Keenan Allen in this game. And on the flip side, I have probably a little bit more interest in Cincy, even though it's a low team total. I think they have to get the ball to somebody. I think it's going to be Tyler Boyd with A.J. Green out now. I think Tyler Boyd, like a few weeks ago, people were running and trampling over each other to play Tyler Boyd with A.J. Green out. Now he's kind of the forgotten guy. Well, they'll be passing in this game starting in the first quarter. They can't – that'll be it. They'll be down in the first quarter. They'll be constantly passing, and they got to get it to somebody. I think he eats up some garbage time here, so I'll take some Tyler Boyd.
All right, moving on. Next game, NFC East, Philadelphia Chop. Your boys, the Cowboys, continue their role here. So they get a home tilt here with the Eagles. Obviously, Philly, life is on the line here. Dallas can pretty much punch their ticket or close to it with a win here. So what do we do with Dallas? Is it same old, same old? A lot of Ezekiel Elliott, pass on the rest? Or are you interested in that passing game? And then Philadelphia, we know, split a lot of Wentz, been a lot of Ertz. Adams, not such a big game last night. So can you go back to that? Well, but an intriguing game here, Chop. What do you think, Philadelphia and Dallas?
This is absolutely one of those games Dallas has classically lost over the years. Like, they look good coming off a big win, and then they just fall flat on their face against a team like Philly. So, this is hard to trust them. But, yeah, they're a two-man show on offense between Elliott and Cooper. Elliott is obviously the guy everybody will turn to. But I think Cooper, the last time these two teams played, Dallas pulled the upset, but Cooper didn't do anything against a beat-up secondary. Kind of left a sour taste in people's mouth. But now he's at home. Every single week, he just gets a little bit better and a little bit more adept with the system. Man, I think he could have a big game here. I think he could have a huge game with Elliott drawing, once again, if they play fake it. I keep telling them, play fake, man. Play action. You get something done here, man. But I think Cooper can beat him long here. So I love Cooper. You can always play Elliott. Gallup's almost caught home run touchdowns in back-to-back games. So Gallup's another guy in GPPs you could just throw a dart at, especially on FanDuel where you're not worried about the point per reception. You just want a long play out of your receiver who's cheap. On the other side, the Eagles, Wentz to Ertz is a connection. Ertz crushed him in that first game. I expect him to – they don't have an answer for him, I don't think, again. So Ertz, again, Josh Adams will be a little bit more prevalent in this game. So I think that's your three-headed guys. Tate looked better on the Monday night game. Looked like he's getting more into the flow, so maybe you could play that angle too. But it's tough to trust the wide receivers on this team because there's so many of them.
Yeah, I mean, Golden Tate at 4,800 is appealing, but that Dallas defense has been legit, especially at home. We just saw him shut out New Orleans, or shut down New Orleans, I should say. So tough to get excited about Philadelphia, honestly, Derek, outside of Ertz for me. But Dallas is intriguing. Is it Zeke for you, or is it, an Amari Cooper, maybe Dak Prescott game here?
Yeah, 3.5 point spread. That sure feels a little low. Feels a little fishy. Maybe Chop's right. Maybe Chop's right about them, losing these games. But, I don't love a lot on Philly. You mentioned, Dallas has been playing some great defense all year. I don't really want to trust Wentz or any of his receivers. The backfield's just a mess, especially now that Darren Sproles is back. Zach Ertz is fine, but I think you can get, double-digit targets for a little bit cheaper with Ebron at tight end. Better matchup as well. So not a ton of interest for the Eagles. And then on the Cowboys, like Chop said, it's a two-man show. I love Zeke Elliott. Over the last 4 weeks, he's had 40, 36, 28, and 26 fantasy points. He's had 10 days rest since they played last Thursday against the Saints. I think it's a good spot for him. Cooper, he's caught 16 of his last 17 targets. Had two pretty good games in a row, going up against a very beatable Eagles secondary. And I know we go game by game, but I kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the running back position. Who are you prioritizing in terms of the superstars? Because we got a lot of good value at the position. And then we have McCaffrey, Barkley, Elliott, and Kamara all kind of fighting for that top spot.
For me, it's McCaffrey on top, but it's close. I mean, you can make an argument for any of these guys as number one. Kamara's cheaper, Zeke at home in a good spot. Barkley, again, we know has been a monster, but McCaffrey for me. Chop, what do you think?
I'm going to take a little bit of a savings and probably have more Kamara than any of the other guys.
There you go. But you're right, Derek. A lot of people are going to play these value running backs. We're going to get to another one, and I think that'll be the common build. So, two of those guys and a stud running back, maybe you load up a couple stud running backs. We know that's been the key to winning some of these tournaments this week. So that value just makes things very, very intriguing here. All right, let's go to the toilet bowl here. Detroit and Arizona. We talk about a lot of teams in contention for the playoffs. These two teams are fighting for the number one pick or a top 5 pick. So Derek, what do we got here? I mean, Arizona's defense is about the only thing that I'm seeing that I want to play in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. The only offensive player from Detroit that really scares an opposing defense is Kenny Golladay. He's probably going to get matched up against Patrick Peterson. So I like Arizona's defense a little bit. Don't really want to play anyone from Detroit. I feel like this is a good spot for David Johnson, right? 6,500, really good price point. Going up against the Lions, I know they got Snacks Harrison, and their run defense has been improved, but Todd Gurley showed that you could certainly overcome this matchup. They're not very good against pass-catching running backs. So, I mean, it feels like a David Johnson game, but they have nothing to play for, so I don't really know what I want to do with him yet. Probably fire him up in tournaments and avoid him in cash games. And Christian Kirk on the IR. Looks like, maybe Trent Sherfield's going to get some snaps. He's on the minimum salary on DraftKings.
Who the hell did you just say? You made that name up, man. Come on.
Well, I mean, so last week he got hurt. Instead of going to J.J. Nelson, they went to Trent Sherfield. Min salary, saw 3 targets, caught one of them for 21 yards. So if you need a super deep flyer in the Millionaire Maker, maybe give him a look.
There you go. Chop, why are they trolling us with Chase Edmonds? 2 touchdowns.
What's
Chase
up
Edmonds.
with that? That was crazy stuff, man. What's going on there?
Unbelievable. So thoughts here, Lions and Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Derek pretty much. I don't have a lot of interest for Detroit on the road here. I think Galladay gets shadowed here by Peterson. That's not good. And that's their really only, with Kerryon Johnson probably not playing again. That's their only weapon I would even entertain, and that's a shadow job that I don't want. So that would leave me with a little David Johnson on the other side. I could play David Johnson. He hadn't produced in these good matchups either this year, but maybe I could be talked into a little old man Fitzgerald, but that's about it.
Yeah, let's move on from that one. Let's go to Pittsburgh and Oakland, the other big value running back that everybody's going to be talking about this week, Jalen Samuels. Chop, very familiar with him from his college days because he was basically a running back that you could roster at tight end back in the day, and we know college tight ends are hard to get production out of. So always holds a special place in my heart. Now gets the opportunity here against the Oakland Raiders. Basically the same spot. Spencer Ware's in, same conditions, basically about the same price, $3,700. Where's your interest level in Jalen Samuels?
And also, oddly enough, on Yahoo Fantasy, he's listed as a tight end. That's quite the coincidence.
There's a little battle going on between Yahoo Fantasy and ESPN Fantasy, taking jabs at each other out there. So kind of entertaining. A little bad blood under the radar there, but pretty funny stuff. But yeah, if you pick him up in Yahoo and you can play him at tight end, we know tight end's been a dumpster fire all year. So lock and load. But here on DraftKings, $3,700, yay or nay?
Yeah, I mean, you got to play him. I mean, it's Oakland, and you're versus Oakland, and you're the Pittsburgh running back. And it's just been proven here that it kind of does it with this kind of a system. Listen, I'm a running back truther, but only the elite guys. Saquon's and Ezekiel's and the guys you can't replace so easy are the guys I absolutely want to, take precedent over. But these other guys – plug anybody into this Pittsburgh system and they're probably going to be good. My only question would be, exactly how many snaps is this guy going to get? They do have Stephen Ridley that hasn't played much, but that's only because they've been plenty deep enough with running back already. I'm just a little bit hesitant to pull the trigger in a lock button fashion because we just don't know. And I don't know, man. So, yeah, but in cash games, you absolutely have to have him on there. Just like Spencer Ware last week, though, there's reason to fade him a little bit in tournaments, at least not lock him in. So there's that. But I think Jalen Samuels, if he falls into the end zone, he's going to have a great game. That's fine. But if he doesn't, it's going to be a Spencer Ware type of game where you're just not super stoked about it. What I am super stoked about, I think Antonio Brown and Juju have a big game. I think that Connor being out is a big blow. They rely more on the passing game here. I think those two guys go crazy. So I'm more on the passing game here in tournaments than rather than Samuels. And on the flip side, Oakland is Oakland. They're terrible. Marcel Aitman looks fine. You could play him. They didn't raise the price on him, but that's about the only guy.
Would you play Stephen Ridley at all? $3,300.
On DraftKings, in tournaments, I think there's some room there. Yeah. I think that if they end up passing a lot and he's going to be a pass catcher, or we just don't know the exact role that Sam, it's not like, any of these guys have exceeded like 50% of the snaps we just don't know. Connor's has been there the whole year. So we just don't know how they're going to play it out, man. So I don't know. I think there's merit to it in tournaments. Yeah.
Can only pick one guy. Just let's say at a tournament, Jeff Wilson Jr. or Jalen Samuels?
Jalen Samuels.
All right. Derek, same question to you to lead it off. Wilson or Samuels in a tournament?
Well, I can play both, so I'm going to play both.
Oh, you can. I'm making the rules here, and you can only play one.
I will go with Jalen Samuels because I like his pass catching upside. You guys mentioned, he played tight end in college at times and just a ton of catches. And if you look at just the very small sample from this season, he has 12 rushing attempts, 7 catches. Meanwhile, Ridley has 18 rushes, only 3 catches. So I do think he's going to be the preferred option here. I know he's going to be heavily owned, but maybe people will want to pay up at running back. There's a lot of good options to pay up for, so maybe people will be forced to pick between Samuels and Jeff Wilson. I'll have both of them in my lineups. I think it's a really good spot. I think it's a good spot for the Pittsburgh onslaught. I know Ben hasn't been great on the road throughout his career, but this year they've kind of broken down his road splits by time of the game, and I can't remember exactly, but I think it's the 1 p.m. Eastern times at road games that he struggles in. I'll have to double check that, but either way, it's the Raiders, so we can throw all that out the window. You can pair him up with Samuels. You can pair him up with one of his receivers as well. Just do the full onslaught. I kind of did that last week with the Chiefs against the Raiders. Unfortunately, I just picked the wrong receiving option. I ended up going with Hill over Kelsey. But, gotta love the Steelers here. No issue with any of them. I think you can even play Vance McDonald, who has 12 targets over the last couple of games. He's always a good red zone threat. For Oakland, I just don't know what they're doing. I mean, we had Gruden trying to challenge a play with less than 2 minutes left in the half.
That was funny. He looked confused.
Oh, my gosh. I don't get – I mean, Doug Martin and Jordy Nelson are still getting a ton of work for no reason at this point. So I don't really want to play anyone from Oakland.
So we love to break some news on the pod, and we know that Oakland loves guys that are washed. So we'll cover 2 birds with 1 stone here. Oakland brings in and signs running back C.J. Anderson. Add him to the mix. Any thoughts there? Obviously, we can't play him this week, but any intrigue there moving forward there?
No.
Stop.
No.
Just making sure. Just making sure here. I'm with you. You were talking about best ball fails. C.J. Anderson is killing my portfolio. So to see him land in Oakland, only fitting. But that'll wrap up the main slate. Let's move on, guys. Sunday Night Football. Got one hell of a game here. The Rams going to Chicago, 2 of the better teams in the NFC. Definitely both contenders here. Should get Mitchell Trubisky back, so we don't have pricing as usual. So let's just cover the game in general, Derek. Rams, Bears, what do you got?
It's going to sound weird, but I think it's a game where you play both kickers. We have 2 good defenses that kind of, bend but don't break, and we have 2 offenses that can move the ball. So maybe these defenses, stiffen up a little bit in the red zone. I do think the kickers are viable. Just going to have to wait and see with Trubisky. If he ends up playing, I'll like him quite a bit. The Rams haven't been great against, the opposing passing games. If not, Chase Daniel should be pretty cheap and viable. And these showdown slates, quarterbacks are always viable. Gurley, obviously going to be the guy you want to pay up for. But I like Taylor Gabriel quite a bit. He's been getting, a number of targets. He gets some deep shots and some short targets, which gives him pretty high floor, high ceiling. We have Trey Burton, and then obviously the Rams receivers are going to be pretty solid. I seem to always play Woods over Cooks. Not really sure why that is, but I always seem to give him the edge. So I'll do that once again this week.
And if you're playing the full week slate, Todd Gurley, 3rd highest priced running back. He's 8,800 on DraftKings. So, Chop, where do you land on Gurley if you're playing that slate? He's cheaper than McCaffrey, cheaper than Barkley. Is he better play than both those guys at 8,800?
Good question. Yeah, no, I don't think so. But this is a showdown slate, so I'm not gonna bore you with all the details of Gurley and Woods and Cooks, and they're all in play. And Trubisky, if he plays, that's my preferred quarterback. But Rather that, I'll just give you the guy that, at some point you got to kind of play a guy that you're not super comfortable with, a little bit cheaper, but probably a little bit lower ownership. And that guy for me is Anthony Miller in this game.
There you go. Quick to the point.
There
Let's
you
move
go.
on.
Chinese. I got smelling that Chinese food still, man.
Chop's trying to get to the egg rolls here. I don't blame him. So let's wrap it up. Chop finishes up. Monday night, Vikings Seahawks.
Being a parent can be really challenging. Child and Family Resource Network focuses on connecting pregnant parents and those with kids under the age of 5 with free support services to help them on their parenting journey. Everyone deserves someone they can turn to for help with parenting. Visit childandfamilyresourcenetwork.org today.
Some people were made to follow the instructions. We were made to make our own. To always measure twice and never cut corners. Unless, of course, we've got a compound miter saw. Northern Tool and Equipment is a problem solver's paradise. There's nothing we can't find, fix, or figure out together. We're made for this. Start solving your projects today at northerntool.com.
Super solid game here, but I'm glad it's a showdown and we can really dip into it and watch it because as far as being on main slate fantasy appeal, there's nothing there for me. Seattle is just so run heavy. Again, we like a broken record. We say it every week. Russell Wilson just not passing enough, just not enough attempts. Super efficient when he does, but just not enough. Don't think it changes a whole lot this week. All those guys are in play, but this is a pass-happy team right here. I mean, it's a run-heavy team. On the flip side, Minnesota's kind of the exact opposite. They want to pass it a lot with Cousins, Thielen, and Diggs. If I'm going to choose a breakout candidate for this game, it's going to be Dalvin Cook, though.
There you go. Derek, final thoughts here, Monday Night Football, Seattle and Minnesota.
Yeah, give the rock to Dalvin. He deserves more touches. Only had 9 carries last week, but broke off 84 yards. Also had 10 targets, which was nice to see. So, yeah, I like Dalvin quite a bit as my captain. Then the rest of the guys don't really trust Seattle's backfield. Maybe take a shot on Doug Baldwin. He'll be the lowest owned of those receivers there. He scored 2 touchdowns the last 3 weeks. And you can play the defenses, especially Seattle, since Minnesota does like to air it out. We kind of like to play those defenses that are going to be facing a bunch of pass attempts.
All right, quick and to the point. I like it, but without the pricing, hard to break down those from the showdown slate. But both look like great games in the NFC. Definitely games you're going to want to tune into. Hopefully we can put some money on those showdown slates. So, guys, any final thoughts on the football before we answer a few user questions here? Chop.
Yeah, just it's a big slate, man. We're back to the normal, no bye weeks, no Thanksgiving Day games. It's big, so I like it. There's a lot more choices and just got to choose wisely.
Derek, final thoughts for Week 14 football related.
We're getting to that time of year where we can start crossing off a couple teams each week that have nothing to play for. So you definitely don't want to be playing, some of those veteran players on teams with nothing to play for that are going to start playing their younger guys. So just keep an eye on that moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean, teams that are in the playoff hunt, teams that have something to play for, obviously should be at the top of your list. So, it seems like an easy concept, but some people forget about that when playing DFS. All right, let's answer some questions here. This is about a 3-parter. So, Derek, we'll start with you. What's the most overrated stat that you think messes up roster construction? From Aaron on Twitter.
Oh, that's a good one.
I already know Chop's answer.
Yeah.
I'll say carries, I guess, just because they don't really apply all that much on DraftKings. So I'll say carries.
Chop, don't let me down here.
I'm not. I know you want. I know what you want me to say, but I can't do that because there's one that's even more overrated that I have to, and I've said it before, but wide receiver cornerback matchup charts. So overrated. I mean, I get it. In the case of shadowing guys, yes, it matters. I don't want the Peterson matchup. I don't want the Jalen, but everybody else, they move around so much these days, and cornerbacks, just because you see the guy's name next to the cornerback's name and you just assume that's 100%, these guys are going to be locked up all day long. It doesn't work like that. It's so overrated. Don't let that, shy you away from a receiver just because you see a bad matchup, but that matchup's only really going to take place about 35% of the time on the field.
Right. We always give the edge to the corner. I never understood that. It's always, oh, he's going to get shut down. Well, the guy on the other side's pretty damn good too. So why is it we always avoid those matchups? So like that call. All right, part 2 of the question. What's the best type of GPP game, or what's your favorite type? I mean, is there something that stands out that you guys like to play? Chop.
Like, are we talking about contest selection?
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, every week I look in the lobby and I want something that I want a balanced payout with 2 times, a double up. If I min cash, I could, I don't want a 1.6 times my money if I min cash. I don't want 25% of the prize pool going to first place. Give me like around 10% to first place, trickle it down nice and even. That's what I'm looking for every week when I look out there. There's not a lot out there. You have to really choose wisely, but you sometimes you'll find some, and that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, we got tools and plugins and things that can help you with your selections of that. But I agree, the flat payouts, I like the 2x payout, like you said. Sure, the thought of winning $1 million is great, but when the whole prize pool is $3 million and $1 million goes to first, kind of loses its appeal. So kind of in the same boat there. Derek, thoughts on that?
Yeah, love hitting on the payout structure. Definitely download the RG extension if you don't have it for FanDuel and DraftKings. That'll show you that pretty easily. But for me, I'm looking for single entry tournaments. I usually only do one main lineup on each site. So I like single entry tournaments that typically have less than 500 people in it.
There you go. Now, this is a good question, and we love all our listeners. We love doing this podcast each and every week, but he wants to know how many sources, podcasts, touts, whatever, are too many to listen to for the average player. Derek, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a really good question because there's a point where you have content overload and it all just becomes white noise, and then you kind of end up just going with whatever the last podcast you listened to for the week. So I think it's going to change based on what you do. Personally, I have them on in the background pretty much all week, but I would just pick your favorite, 2 or 3 sources that you're going to listen to again, either on Saturday night, Sunday morning, and then go from there.
Yeah, I agree. Find the people you trust the most and value that information. Hopefully it's us, but there's a lot of great information out there. And this is always an early look at the slate. So if things can change during the week. If you ever have questions for us, you can hit the comment section on the video or on the pod. You can hit us on Twitter, but we want to give you the initial look. But a lot of sources out there, Chop. So your thoughts on this? How many is too many?
Yeah, that's all about the individual. But for me, I feel like, there's a few guys that I read pretty much every week. I read their, there's Evan Silva, John Lee Tip and Pick is another good one. Just Derek has a good initial article to start off. There's good articles out there that are fun to read every week. I think they're good, but then there are weeks when I'm just kind of like crunched for time and I don't read anything because I don't think it's mandatory or necessary. Especially once you get to this part in the season, you should have a pretty good grasp on players anyway. So if you got to skip them, it's not a big deal. But yeah, definitely don't go the other route. It's better to have not enough articles or podcasts in your, bookmarks rather than have too many and go overload. That's never good.
And for me, and this goes way back to the beginning, is I always wanted to get my initial thoughts and things down before I started listening to anything else. Get your view on the slate, your ideas, guys you like, and then maybe start integrating some things and seeing, do they agree, do they disagree? But at the end of the day, no matter what you listen to, no matter what you read, you have to build that roster. So trust your own instinct. Let's go to the next question from Mike. He says, how's your overall thought process towards daily fantasy sports changed as when you first got started? We've been playing a long time, guys. We got about 30 years of experience here. So how have things changed since the beginning and to now? Just things you think about, roster construction, tournaments versus cash games, anything you can give here, Mike, to help them get in the right direction here, Chop.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to find what you're good at. That's all. Like, I've been through the ups and the downs, and for a while there was a lot of slumping, and it was when all the became a very popular thing here, the DFS thing several years ago, and I realized I just wasn't playing the same games. Like, I had a lot of success early on, and it was because the tournaments were smaller, a higher buy-in, just less people to compete with. And people were putting in, maximum maybe 10 or 20 entries. The multi-entry wasn't there like it is today. Then when that changed and people could enter 150 and all of a sudden it became a 100,000 person tournament, man, I failed miserably for a couple of years because I was chasing that. Then I realized, no, I got to get back to what I do better. And I still play the stupid millionaire maker all the time. But the point is, I'm not good at it. What I was good at is, like Derek said, single entry, 500 or less people. My lineup against, only one lineup or 3 max entry. You find what you're good at. That's what I was good at. You got to find what you're good. Maybe it's cash games for you. Maybe it is 150 lineups. Eric Crane is a 150 lineup guy. He does it very well. Find what you're good at and go for it.
Yeah, I think the biggest change for me was the integration of basically game theory. I mean, it was always there, but, it got a lot more difficult when we started bringing in ownership percentages, and projections, and models and things like that. So I think that was the biggest change. I agree with Chop. A lot of success early on. I prefer the smaller fields, prefer the higher buy-ins, prefer the single entry stuff, but I couldn't agree more. Find what you're good at. We have tools that can help you with that over at RotoGrinders, whether it's cash games, tournaments, 50-50s, and run with it. We all want to win $1 million. It's very difficult to do. Derek, thoughts here just from the change, from the beginning to now, and how you've kind of adjusted to it?
Yeah, so the first thing that came to mind for me was when I first started playing, how is this legal? I need to take advantage until they figure this out, until the government gets hold of it. But yeah, I mean, now it's just grown and it's huge, and now there's just hundreds of different content sites out there. So it's definitely sharper than it used to be. When we talk about these value running backs in play this week, a couple years ago they would maybe be 20% owned in tournaments. This week they're going to be massive chalk, and you're just going to have to adjust to those kind of things. I do think game theory definitely comes into play more now than it ever has, because it's pretty easy to find the obvious and best plays of the week. Every single site has them. Even non-DFS sites will have the best. Some of the season-long sites and whatever will have the best plays out there. So yeah, definitely more information, and which is good because it makes your research time, you can cut that down a little bit, but it is harder to win. So I would focus on what you do best. Download the RotoGrinders bankroll tool. Well, I can't remember the name of it, but you can upload your results to it, and it'll tell you where you've had the most success over the last couple of years or whatever. So I would download that, and then just go from there.
That would be Results DB, I think is what we're talking about. I don't know if Dan Bach tried to name that baby after himself or what, but sure means database. But Mike, great question there, and he had a follow-up question, a little more lighthearted here. What holiday movie is most deserving of a remake, and which one should be left the hell alone? Derek.
Ooh, left alone, I'll say Christmas Vacation, because I don't think you can top it. Remake, I mean, The Grinch. I'll watch any Grinch. They can make one every year. I'll watch it.
Yeah, I mean, the new one I didn't see it. The kids and the wife went and saw it, and they said it was pretty good. So I might have to check that out. Chop, what holiday movie should they remake, and which one should they leave alone?
Well, the one they should leave alone is Bad Santa. Don't be messing with Bad Santa, man. That's a classic right there.
Didn't they make a second one?
They did.
Well, the part 2, or the original,
okay,
yeah. And the original was so good. Don't ever mess with that one. But what could they do over? You know what? Yeah, Home Alone. Let's do Home Alone over again.
No, leave Home Alone alone.
I didn't really like the Home Alone originally, so
my goodness.
Let's get, instead of Macaulay Culkin, let's get Justin Bieber in there or something like that.
God, you have derailed. You clearly need Chinese food, Chop, because you have.
I'm smelling it. I'm so starving, man.
I don't like Home Alone. He's never seen Die Hard, which is one of the best Christmas movies there is. I mean, what is going on here? You're a Redbox guy. You got it.
What's Die Hard? I don't know.
Die Hard. There we go. There could be a remake. I would watch some more Die Hard. All right, from Ross, this is quite an interesting dilemma here. So you got to pick one or the other. So, Chop, we'll start with you. Would you rather lock Mark Sanchez into 100% of your lineups this week, or be forced to watch every snap of his career in one sitting?
Oh, hell, I'll lock the guy in I'll lock him in, man. I mean, how can, if at $4,000, just how bad can he be? I'm I'm not watching all that other stuff.
He said you're strapped to a chair, sitting directly in front of the TV, no phone, no other people to talk to as well.
Oh,
So,
100%
yeah.
Lucky man. Then I'll just go take an afternoon jog on Sunday, man. I know I'm not watching every snap of Sanchez's career, man.
I'm with you. I'll lock him in. I'll take the loss. However much money I got on the line, I'll just chalk it up and move on. But I'm not sitting there watching that. Derek?
Man, I'll go the opposite route. That's some great TV right there. The butt fumble, him eating hot dogs on the sideline. Yeah, give me a 6-pack of beer. I'll watch all that.
You just hit on the 2 highlights of Mark Sanchez's entire
Good luck with those other 5 hours, man.
Right. Oh, that would be brutal. All right, Larry Sorge wants to know, what's your setup like the last couple hours before lock? Food, drinks, computer, totally isolated? What's going on before you set those lineups, Chop?
Well, those last couple hours are pretty much my research. I'm starting to do research about 2 hours before the slate happens. So
There you go.
I just, I just start piecing I don't even like to do anything anymore until the inactives come out, just to see, what obscure player may or may not, like Deion Jones last week being active, to me switches things up for Atlanta. There's guys like that every week. So I don't like to really start putting lineups together till the inactives come out. But I'm in my office. I shut my door to drown out all the noise in the other rooms. Isolated, man. I've already eaten my breakfast by then. I've already gotten my beverage of choice. And I'm just kind of in my office chilling and do my own thing.
Yeah, it's about the same for me. It's get some coffee and taking all the news. It's really difficult to set lineups in football without taking in all the news. And I think a lot of the news, like the Deion Jones things, go under the radar. People aren't thinking about, what's that affect things. They're just looking at the skill position players. And sometimes it's linemen. Sometimes it's cornerbacks. There's a lot of news you can take from that. So pretty much the same. A little music, a little coffee. The kids and the wife know to leave me the hell alone for those couple hours, so they'll usually go out and do something, but generally just focus and cranking out lineups. Derek, last couple hours before lock in the Farnsworth household, what's that looking like?
Yeah, a lot of caffeine. I'm down in my office. I got the Grinders live stream up on one of my monitors, and then I got the Roto World page up and my Twitter list up on my other one. I still haven't figured out TweetDeck. Do you guys use TweetDeck?
Yes.
Hey, Chop swears by that. I'm team old guy, so I'm still carving shit out of stone over here.
Chop, you're gonna have to give me a crash course,
Dude. It's an essential part, man. You've got to have it, dude. I'll even send you the list we use on RG for the news. It's
all right.
Good stuff.
All right, do it. And then just making lineups, and for whatever reason, I'm a constant tinkerer when it comes to my lineups. So right up until lock, I'm constantly looking for potential swaps, and whenever I make them, it never pans out. But that's how my brain works.
So quit tinkering.
It's impossible not to.
I know the feeling. All right, that'll do it for the questions, guys. Great questions. Hopefully we helped you there. It's some strategy talk, some Christmas movie talk. Chop, let's get the season-long update we've all been waiting for.
Man, I mean, I don't know. I'm speechless right now, man. This thing ran so long. My wife is home, and she's actually mad at me because I haven't eaten the Chinese food yet. So she's in here getting my dirty dishes, and this is a behind the scenes. I wish I had a camera on this, guys, but this is. So let's get to this here, man, because I'm getting in trouble here. So
all right, let's get to the Chinese.
This is, this is crazy stuff right here. She just flashed me, by the way.
Oh, hey, there you go. You got that going for you. Now we definitely got to get out of here. Chinese food and maybe a little.
Of all the times, the one time I'm really not paying attention to. Every other time I ask her to do it is like I'm pulling teeth or something. It's a struggle. And now I'm really trying to concentrate on this, and that's happening. So, season long, baby. I won this game. I don't know how. 3-10. I'm in second to last place now. I'm tied. We got the same worst record, but I got more points. So basically, I'm one win away from locking up the second worst record, which is good for me because then I don't have to pay the guy's entry fee, and I still get Saquon next year. But the big thing I did want to hit on is where one rose dies, I guess another one springs up in its place, because in this best ball I checked, didn't even know I even had best balls on draft, but I checked and I got a team going into the third round now, man. I got a team that's actually alive, winning. It's got Mahomes, Tyreek, Antonio. Guess who else it's got on that team this week? Jalen Samuels. Can you believe my luck here, man? I'm running good on the best ball, man.
At tight end over there. What do you mean you don't know you had best balls?
I remember I was making fun of everybody for playing that crap in the summertime, and I actually did a couple of them with Peter and CSU and Dirty Rush and some other guys, and I actually got one through here, man.
Very nice. Good luck. Chop, go get that Chinese food. Derek, any final thoughts here? We'll get out of here.
Oh, no, I'm getting hungry as well. Let's get out of here.
Dude, it's been a long one, guys, so we appreciate you joining us. As always, we'll be back for week 15 for Head Chopper for Notorious. I am Bear saying salut. Best of luck this week. We'll see you right back here next week. We'll see you guys.